too.
No, cyber attack I'm talking about is they have a way to dial in here, knock your system out, tie up your lines, and you can't get in or out for hours. That's a cyber attack. Those are the kind of things you got to think of. I'm not talking about going in and just stealing, which is part of cyber attacks.
Yeah.
I'm talking about knocking you out. That's what they've done to Lynn County and Buchanan and Benton at their 911 center.
What they do. Yeah.
They just waited until it died. They were down for a while. I will tell you, it's so serious, the FBI has been on that one for a while.
Who does that? Is that in this country, or is it from other countries that can do that, or?
That was locally. It was within the state of Iowa.
Wow.
They find who done it?
Not yet. They pinpointed it to a point, but it's had to stay out of the media as much as possible to work on locating it. But no, it can be done anywhere.
I don't know why people want to do that, why they don't try to do something constructive instead of destructive, you know.
Well, you can look at it this way. When you get ready to rob a bank, if you can knock the 911 center out, you never see emergency responders respond. If you want to knock out a nuclear facility, you hit the center, and no one's going to respond to fire or nothing. And it's, people have a warped sense of humor, I would say. It's not really what I want to say, but that's what I'm going to say it that way.
Give us some kind of certificate that you're supposed to have when you watch this disc.
That's the storm fire.
Yeah,
No, you got to have it. Sign that sheet that went around out there, so I can get your name on the list, and then you.
Where's that sheet at?
It was out at BOS Center, and was in Chloe's, I believe, had it for a while.
All right, I gotta give this back to her anyway.
I think she has a sign-in sheet.
Okay.
And if you want a certificate, I'll give you the test.
You give me the test? How many questions on the test?
Review 1,000.
I might be ready for it right now, but not in a week probably.
All that for a certificate, huh?
All that to please Tim.
You get the notice for the public hearing?
I forgot to stop recording.
I'm not sure, but it helps.
I got it going now.
Okay.
Got that oxy on. I like it.
So I can take pictures of
That's for Tim.
someone asleep.
Thursday.
What's that?
That's for
Hey,
Tim.
heard you had a nice
Right,
Thanksgiving.
on Thursday.
Oh yeah, I had a great Thanksgiving.
That's what I heard.
Thank you, Bev.
Or Jill heard it.
Everybody else?
Jill heard it.
Did
Your
you?
wife. I thought you were gonna work all day.
I did.
That's why his wife had such a nice Thanksgiving.
Oh, gee, Daddy.
I couldn't resist. That was too easy.
You're evil.
No, not really.
Come over and I'll show you. You can do the next one.
Another time.
Is Patty gonna come up for that at 9 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay.
That new ceramic floor got put in there by itself, I guess.
Okay, I'll just bring all the certificates. Okay.
Jeff's gonna make sure to get through it.
Is that those 3 discs?
Oh yeah, but we're at 5 more classes.
He's doing the red carpet.
He
Just for
hasn't,
you.
he hasn't done his administrative yet.
Yeah, all in one day.
All 3 of them?
All 3 of them, the whole day.
Oh my goodness.
I sent him an email
I
after
didn't sleep at
every one
night.
too.
I always did mine late at night, and that's a bad time to do that.
I let it go, so he got an email from me, every one.
We will have the NIMS training coming up in probably January, February, 191, IC EOC interface class. That would be a good class for everybody.
Well, they probably in that, when all the stuff is on.
When's that?
February. I'm shoring up the dates with the state right now.
Where will that be?
Somewhere either out in the health center.
Training
Here,
district.
depends on how many.
So what?
And of course, Brad brings it.
I'll tell you, I might. She's not gonna.
Jeff has to bring the pizzas.
What did we have there the last time? How many people were at that one?
There was 28.
It was a pretty good crowd.
And this is for which one?
This will be one that's interface between the EOC and
And for all who want to take that.
About an hour.
when they bring instructors in, they don't bring instructors in for an hour.
It'll be pretty much all day.
5 hours, it's all exercises. It'll be good.
I need to talk to those guys, for the mayor, clerk.
I'm gonna go get those now.
Really should talk to the EOC. Not like you're in a storm, like
No,
sitting there
like,
with you.
right, like if you guys were here. For more of a countywide, if there was a countywide disaster.
Well, actually, I cheat pretty well. Did you guys read the article about Woodbury County?
No, what about it?
The state auditor's going out checking all the EMA commissions. For 33 years, they have not had a meeting.
Without a meeting?
The state of Iowa wants to know why that commission has been operating without meeting regularly, and how that budget has been put together without a commission vote, and they're really going after people.
That, Board of Supervisors was pretty dysfunctional, that's why they said.
They're the ones that brought it forward, one of them and the sheriff.
Was it the new
What
guy?
about it? Yeah.
that brought it forward? You know his name? Goo, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where is that?
I'm gonna send it around
Southwest?
again.
No,
I can't find my
Woodbury
email.
is Sioux City.
Oh.
I might know.
Yeah, and that's where they had that airplane crash, what, 25 years ago?
Yeah.
And he says, I took on this job to take care of the 3-man commission, not a 17-man commission. I don't want it. Well, there's 17 communities. They all have a vote. That's like telling the city that they have a vote.
Maybe that's what I did.
Oh, that's crazy.
I read the email of it, but send you a hard
Hey.
copy.
Anyway, have-
Who?
So,
Oh, really?
how about this one?
We haven't heard the results of that.
You know, you clean the desk
The
too.
25th.
They went in.
That
Oh,
would
keep
be-
getting rid of a little bit more, a little bit
The
more.
auditor's office later
The
books
minutes
out. We
approved
want to see
today.
every
You gotta
penny
wait
that's
till the
came
last
from
minute.
this thing.
No, I don't,
Where did it go?
don't have very many meetings left, really.
Account for it
I
for
don't
7
think
years.
I
I'm
have
gonna
those
miss this.
done yet.
4, 5, 6,
Oh.
7.
Where's their
And
carry?
I'm gonna not
Huh?
be here for the 16th, because I'll do the comp study.
I was here, it was just
6
the
years
20th.
So I missed that
Another
one.
year
Yeah.
went
I don't.
We had a desk audit.
I know.
Yeah.
And
I
if you do your desk
gone
audit,
last week.
Wait
Should
till-
have been
the
done
day she has
yesterday.
her desk
I don't
audit,
have
sends
it.
her the thing.
Oh, okay.
As soon as she sees that, she leaves you alone.
Yeah, I'll collect them. She's talking
How hard
about
is
the
it?
25th.
Bylaws.
I don't have.
When you
those
set
done.
your bidding
I don't have all
Yeah.
that.
date,
Huh?
You have to send me?
Because I took
No,
a
they
day
didn't
off
send it as
Wednesday and
I
I
had to
took
show
yesterday.
bylaws,
Yeah.
I had to show
Okay.
job description.
That's the one
I
she-
had to
okay.
show she had the last 2 EMP
That's why I couldn't
and
find the
budget.
20th, I've already paid for them in the book.
10:45 is a busy, 11 o'clock's a public hearing.
Yeah.
I would think you'd expect me to.
Yeah.
Can't believe that you got public input to take the bids.
Yeah.
But that's the way you want to do it.
Well,
I have to do do.
And pars, I did
Is
show them
anybody
pars.
coming from West Branch?
I did get, because you're not signing.
Or-
I said that was the purpose
Oh.
of my signature.
No, I think it's more a formality, but.
You need to do something.
Oh, Betty, yeah, Betty knows.
She said, that's fine, you're right.
The auditor asked me to set that up.
I said, okay, watch. And she had no problem with that, because I have all the, they're all electronic, so I sent them to her electronically. How are you, Sue? You having a good time? Yes, you are.
You ready for it?
So what are you gonna do with everybody here on
Public
Thursday?
hearing, I've got the recorder, so I'm
Is that a work
Ready?
session?
Crack the whip and do a work session. Yeah, they're gonna do their plan and have it done.
And it's during the normal hours?
Apparently, we're doing it Thursday. That's why the department
That
is.
was, that was
That's why the department is gonna be here.
You ready for the public?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a time for our public hearing on the to review and consider a proposed ordinance. The Cedar County Board of Supervisors are conducting a public hearing at 8:45 a.m. on December 2nd and 4th, 2014 in the board meeting room of the Cedar County Courthouse, Tipton, Iowa. At this time, the board will consider adoption of Cedar County Ordinance Number 56, an ordinance imposing a 1% local option sales and service tax in the incorporated area of the city of West Branch and Cedar County. The purpose is imposition of a 1% local option sales and service tax in the incorporated area of the city of West Branch and Cedar County where the tax was approved at the general election on November 4th, 2014. Cedar County Ordinance Number 56 is on file in the auditor's office for review. At this public hearing, any person present and so wishing will be given the opportunity to be heard. However, the board does not request, or does request, but does not require that any person speaking briefly document or outline the statement and place on file. Time will be allowed during the hearing for a person to prepare such documentation if such time is needed. Any person wishing a statement read into the hearing for them may file same with the county auditor prior to the time of the hearing. Are there any objections or comments on the 1 cent sales tax for West Branch? If there are none, there's no written ones, Bev?
Not that I know
No
of.
written ones? Okay, so I need a motion to approve the purpose, the 1% ordinance number 56. If you want to reduce the hearing to 1 instead of the 2.
So moved.
Okay, you want to
Yes. Waive the second hearing.
waive the second hearing? Okay. The motion's been made by Ellerhoff. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Bell. Any discussion? Roll call. Ellerhoff.
Aye.
Bell.
Aye.
Kaufman.
Aye.
Gall.
Aye.
And Dearborn, aye. It's been passed. Okay,
So,
public.
usually you sign this the day you approve it, and then it'll be on your agenda for Thursday for adoption.
Okay. Okay, so we'll close the public hearing at 8:48. Is Patty coming up for the executive session?
Yep, yes.
What do you got? Oh, I thought you were gonna give somebody that pen or something after you signed it.
No, I thought it was supposed to be in black.
Usually they always want it in blue, so that if you copy it over,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, the original's always in blue then, so.
There it is.
Oops, yeah, that's right. And you're gonna put an adoption of it then next meeting.
Yeah, and then it'll be on your agenda to adopt it, and then once it's printed, it goes to church. Or once it's in the paper, published.
Okay.
Pull up a chair, Patty.
Morning, Patty.
Good morning.
Okay.
Okay. That, couple of months ago, we decided to change the policy of how we're gonna disseminate the veterans grade dollars. And I'm just
Okay.
giving you a little background. And the board, wanted to have the Pioneer Cemetery Association review applications.
Okay.
For that, and I think it really kind of stemmed from comments that you and Tamara made, when was that?
Mhm.
A year ago, probably.
Probably
about
at least a year
focusing,
ago.
instead of just dumping it in a general fund, but actually focusing on veterans graves.
Mhm.
So I wanted to make sure, because, that I've got a draft here.
Okay.
And, I wanna make sure everybody, all the other 4 supervisors are okay with this, was our intent, and then I think we said in our motion, we wanted Patty to listen. So I'll read this and I'll pass it around.
Okay.
It's just a draft. On July 22nd, 2014, the Cedar County Board of Supervisors asked the Cedar County Pioneer Cemetery Commission to give recommendations for the distribution of county funds for veterans graves. This application must be filled out by trustees or officials in charge of the cemeteries requesting funds. And this is the one that will cause some angst amongst some folks, and I'll explain why I say that. An important change in the use of county funds for the care of veterans graves was that the dollars must be used for a project that directly improves veterans monuments or grave sites. The project could be monument repairs, replacement of veteran stones, or any cemetery project directly affecting the veterans buried there. It should not be used for general maintenance of the cemetery. The form below is the application to the Board of Supervisors that will be reviewed by the Cedar County Pioneer Cemetery Association. Be specific as to the project or veterans monuments and the approximate cost. Any questions can be directed to the Pioneer Cemetery Commission Chair, and then I'll pass this around, but there's the name of the contact and the cemetery, et cetera. But the main thing, I want to make sure that that was your intent, because I got 2 letters. There's 2 letters here that came that we'll be sending to all of these now, if this is approval. Both of them are essentially asking for the money to just essentially dump in their general fund. So there's going to be pushback if you guys approve, if this is what everybody wanted to do. Just so you know, there will be some pushback on that. So I just want.
The concerns that we brought up had to do with the fact, and that came from, of course, multiple years of meetings as association, the state association that we belong to, a conversation of double dipping, so to speak, of cemeteries making profits because they have veterans buried there. When you buy a plot, generally you pay for perpetual care of that plot. Well, there are cemeteries that are billing for veterans' graves for grave care, even though they paid for perpetual care, and that money was being dumped into their general fund to do whatever they wanted to. Well, and then you'd have the grave markers that we as a county purchase, and we place on each veteran's grave, one per grave. Those would get damaged and things like that. Well, then they would be coming back to us or to the local service organizations looking for replacement, instead of using that money that they were making off of every veteran's grave in their cemetery to do that replacement, because they were using that money to do general care in the cemeteries, which was not what that should be about. And so discussion was held, and I mean, it's a wrong. I'm a non-veteran. I pay perpetual care. They don't get to turn around and bill the county and make money off of me because I'm a non-veteran. But if I was a veteran buried there, paid for perpetual care with my plot purchase, they get to turn around. Some of the cemeteries get to turn around and bill the county. It may only be $2 or $3 that we reimburse, but over an amount of time, and you look at a cemetery that may have 500 plus, that's a lot of money every year that comes in, and it isn't being spent. And then we have organizations that are, gathering together and doing fundraising to do monument care, replacement, fixing, and things like that. When, to me, the county funds should be used for that, because that's what you guys are paying them for. And that was a question by the commission that was brought up, and with Tamara and things like that, we did bring it to your attention. And I think it should be that way. I mean, and I'm a non-veteran saying that I don't think you should be making money off of a veteran. That's wrong, and that's.
When we discussed this before, there was a couple of examples at least where the dollars were being put in the cemetery's general fund, but there were several veterans markers that were in
Just
deplorable
shambles.
position. But like, for instance, this particular letter that came in, from Maslin Cemetery, I'll pass this around, but what they're basically asking, they don't say it, but they have listed every single veteran in there, and I think that's the justification for putting the money in the general fund. And then this letter basically says, if we've fixed veteran stones in the past, we have, there's a lot of veterans buried in the cemetery, and so therefore, that's why we're putting this money in the general fund. What this would do is force them to fill out a specific, specific needs and exactly what they're gonna do with that money, instead of just using it for mowing.
Well, and
I
that's
just
just
wanna
it. I
make sure
mean, do
everybody's
they,
okay with that.
these cemeteries, are they ones that are normally getting reimbursed by the county? I guess that's my thing is, not all cemeteries are billing the county for the veterans that are buried there. So are these two cemeteries ones that do usually normally bill the county
Yes.
for funds?
Yes. There was a total of,
See, that doesn't go through me, that always is through the auditor's office, so I don't have that information, so
That
that's.
was, there was,
We researched all that,
yes,
got all that.
yes, that's it. And there was just, let me look here if I remember what my notes are here. Okay, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Looks like there's 12 cemeteries that have been billing through the auditor's office.
Okay.
And
So I remember Carrie came up with a figure of how much it actually,
yeah, it's about $4,599 essentially under the board.
a year.
A year, and the
But when
board said
you-
that's what we would put in that
Right.
fund for to.
Right.
Now, well, the second question I had, because the minutes were a little ambiguous on that, is, do you want this letter to go out to obviously the 12 that have been receiving that money, but do you want to attempt to send this out to all of the cemeteries?
I think it should be all.
Everybody all? Is everybody okay? Because I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. That's kind of what, I wasn't on
I
that
think
committee, but
that's-
that's kind of what I reported back. Is that what we want to do? Because there's going to be some calls coming in.
Well, I think it should, if you're gonna do it this way, every cemetery should be able to apply if they're gonna do some project for a veteran, whether they're gonna erect a monument, or they're gonna do, maybe they've got some graves that they've been trying to figure out how to fix but don't have the funding because they've never billed. There's a lot of private cemeteries that veterans are buried in, and they don't bill the county for that, but I know that there's quite a few graves in some of the private cemeteries. And, if you're gonna offer that, if they have a project that they wanna do, shouldn't they be eligible to do that, because it is county funds?
And I think some of these actually, 1, 2, 3, 4 of these are private cemeteries.
So,
And just like the city of Clarence's letter, basically they're saying what all they've done in the past, well, and they plan on continuing, what they plan on continuing, put that as their project, and then get the funding. No big deal.
They just need to be specific, and I think
Exactly.
held accountable for where the funds are going. And I think the thing that we did was build an awareness. I don't think there was a lot of comments that I received out in the public after those meetings, that they didn't realize that you were paying for that. There was family members that said, wait a minute, so they're making money off of my husband's grave even though we paid for perpetual care. It's
What it boils down to is those that have been using the money properly, even though it may have gone into the general fund.
But we're still using it properly.
Even though they're doing it, it's not gonna be a big deal. They can do the paperwork, they can track it, it'll go on. Those that weren't.
Are gonna be held accountable.
Exactly.
And it's gonna
I think
deter that
that's
behavior.
the intent.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Does that letter sum up what, I see everybody said, does that letter do what you're saying?
Because I think it gives specifics as, if they're gonna do a project, they're going to do something that, is going to benefit, whether it's monument repair or grave marker, that they've got a lawnmower, they've damaged a bunch of grave markers. They're $33 per grave marker that we issue. The bronze, they're expensive. That's why the county, and why I track when I issue them, we issue one per family. And if it gets damaged by the cemetery, it happens. Then, I think that that's something that they could, easily say, well, we've got this many grave markers that are damaged, we'd like to replace them, I can give them all the contact information as so they can do an exact, replacement and things like that, which they should. They should do exactly what was on there. And, there are much cheaper options, but that's not what we issue. So, I mean, I think it's a great thing. And if people ask, then they know what's being done. It's an awareness.
The only thing I can say on that paper there, Jeff, is you got recommended and review, but who authorizes it?
We do.
But it don't say that on there anywhere.
Oh, I can put, commission recommends, and then we would vote on those, or reject them. We do
Whatever
we
you
want.
whatever you want.
All right.
I mean, I think it ought to be spelled out on there that the board has the,
Yep.
Takes the recommendation or goes by the recommendation and review of the board there.
Yep, definitely. I think Tim had a question. I think Tim had a question.
Just,
I have a question as a veteran. What I'd like to see on that ordinance that you guys put together, because I don't care what cemetery gets the money. If they got a veteran, they're giving it to a veteran, that's fine. But if you guys are giving them money, I think they need to have a revenue line for veterans funds and an expense line for veterans funds and what they spend it on. And that way, anytime they could be audited, they could tell exactly what they spent that money on.
meaning their budget.
In their budget
should be
line.
that way. That's how we do all our federal grants. That's how we do all everything.
So I do my state stuff here. It's in a separate line item. So that way, if they have any question, it's right in that line item. There's no, for me anyway, with the state money that I get.
I ran into a couple that did that, but not very
I would
many.
make that mandatory in your letter, in your ordinance. They have to do that. So who cares who gets it as long as they track it?
Oh, this
Not
is
an
a
ordinance, it's just a policy, I guess.
It's
Or a policy.
Policy change for funding by the Board of Supervisors. What do you think about that?
I have no problem with it.
I think it's a good idea. I think it's very easily done, and those that aren't doing it should have been.
Mhm.
It's just an account
There'll be
code,
no
no big
question what the
deal.
money's used for.
All it is adding an account code.
Yeah, it's no big deal. So anybody that tries to make it be a big deal is
Again.
simply not wanting to be accountable.
What the argument I could see being made is that the act of mowing includes mowing several veterans' graves.
But don't they mow everybody's grave?
Yes.
Are they going to go around it because they're not?
These funds aren't for mowing, they're
No.
for other things,
I'm good,
so.
I'm good
I
with
mean,
that.
that's my thing is they're going to mow my grave, and I bought perpetual care with my plot, just like the veteran bought perpetual care. Mowing is part of perpetual care. This is above and beyond perpetual care. This is, doing something, to replace in honor of a veteran. They're not going to go and start mowing around, and you're going to have tall grasses in your. Perpetual care is mowing. That includes mowing.
I would say that, and I'm sorry, but I would say that your perpetual care takes care of everything that goes with everything. And that the only money you should be giving to them is what has to happen above and beyond a normal grade because it's a veteran. Identifications, whether you put up a marker that shows the location of all veterans to make it easy, whether you replace the star, whether you put a flag out for them on Veterans Day. Those items that are tied directly to the veterans is the only thing that this money should go to.
The only thing I don't know how much we should be telling them how to budget, because basically, they may, how deep do we get into it? Do we tell them they have to have a specific Cedar, the money that comes in for this project, does it have to be a budget line just for that, or can it be under that special projects? I don't like that part of it. I think we're specific enough that we're requiring them to come up with a project, a plan, and then we approve that money to be used for. I think that's sufficient in my mind.
I would strongly encourage them to.
I encourage them, but I don't think
maybe
we
strongly
can
encourage them to.
put it in their budget.
Incorporate some mechanism within their budget for tracking these dollars, because, okay, are we going to include anything? Can we request a report at any given time as to use of those funds? Like any grants that require, I think I talked about that.
How are you going to do follow-up? Who's
Yeah.
going to make sure that these
Well, we
projects
could
got
put
done?
verbiage in there. We may, at any time, we
We
may
may.
request in the future,
There you go.
documentation to prove that these funds were used for the
Yeah,
project.
kinda had forgotten it, and I think we talked about that a long time ago. I think I suggested handling it similar to a grant in that sometimes there are, final reports that go along with your grant dollars, so. And not that we're going to request it every time, but we wanna have the ability to do so in the event that, we get wind maybe somebody's not using those funds appropriately, or, some kind of follow-up.
I mean, with the state, they have basically, for the allocation money, there is a report we do every year, and it asks for a list out of how the money was spent, and it does say you have to keep track of all your receipts, all your bills, to show that in case you are audited, that it's available for auditing purposes, so, but it is a request that they, that we, with state money, and I think it could be done the same way, just as a check and balance. Because what if they didn't spend all the money that they said they were gonna need, then they shouldn't get to keep that money, it should be returned, I mean, it's the same kind of process, then it should be returned back into the county if they ended up not using everything that they requested.
Well, I think this is a place to start, and it's not an ordinance or something, it's not gonna be that hard to change next year if we wanna change it and add something or take something off, so I think this is a place to start. It's a lot better than what we had before.
Right.
We got some control of it, and we know where the money's going, so.
I'll add these 3 items, and I'll bring in the final draft.
Okay.
I'll also make sure you get it so you can share it with your commission members.
Okay.
too, so.
Okay, that would be good.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we were on the right track with everybody.
Okay.
Thank you, Patty.
Thanks. Just a little FYI, my commission does know, but there may be some moments that I will be out of the office due to FMLA situations, so I will have coverage for the VA stuff as much as I can and figure out something. I need to figure out something for the GA side, but there may be some times that I'm out. Just thought I would let you know. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Cindy?
Good morning.
Morning.
I won't take up too much of your time. I have a correction from the business property tax credit application. It appears it was timely filed and was probably just an accidental omittance. It was sent via email on January 10th. Looks like it was received. There was a read receipt on Monday, January 13th. The application deadline was January 15th, so it's probably just an accidental omittance. But per the Department of Revenue, I need written documentation that it's been approved by myself and then also by the Board of Supervisors. So I have a copy of the initial application. I have a copy of the read receipt from the email. I have a copy of the series of emails between my office and the Department of Revenue as far as the process in order to correct this. I also have a map for the property in case you are curious. I have the property record card, and I also have the most recent tax statements indicating that it's clearly not been applied. So,
This is in regards to one property?
yes, sir. So out of the 670 applications that were received, looks like one just maybe got, I wouldn't say lost, but we don't have any paper trail indicating that obviously it was received via email, but we don't have any other documentation on our end that, anything was applied otherwise. So any questions at all or anything?
So you need,
Can we see?
Oh, sure.
you need specific names?
It is Central Iowa Power Cooperative.
Should go.
Yep.
We were
Now,
recommending.
has everybody applied for this next year that available?
It came to our attention when we have been continually sending out applications for those properties that did not get signed up, or when there's been a change in ownership and that type of thing. They did not contact us when they got their tax receipt. They didn't contact us until we sent out the application that they had missed. So he sent the documentation following that he had submitted it in a timely capacity. So we just kind of went going forward, contacted Department of Revenue, kind of see what the process is. The administrative rules hasn't been finalized yet as far as some of these things. At least they weren't as of 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. So this process might change a little bit going forward. But I figure with a brand new tax credit and that amount of new applications, this type of thing will happen occasionally. I'm not happy with it, but in general, so.
You don't know what percentage has been signed up already, do you?
We're at about 83 or 84% participation last I knew, and that had been an increase from 62% as of January 2014. So we're edging closer to that.
Yes.
That you won't probably ever have 100% participation just because you'll have somebody out of state or something along those lines. But so I don't know, a copy of the tax statement if you just want to look and verify that it's not.
What's that amount to on this one?
I would
as far
imagine
as-
it'd be around $800 to $900. So I believe it's about a several multi-$1,000 tax bill.
So we just need approval from.
I need documentation, so probably maybe a motion to approve the correction as well in
You're
the minutes.
approving this application?
I am, yeah.
Approving Cindy's recommendation.
Move or approve that recommendation to allow that business property tax credit.
Second. Motion's been made by Cal. Is there a second on this?
Second.
Second by Kaufman. Any discussion?
Should
Roll
they
call.
include in their name in their motion for the documentation?
It probably wouldn't hurt. You probably want the parcel number too, Bev.
Assessor marks.
Mhm. So include the parcel number and then Central Iowa Power Co-op?
Yes, ma'am.
Any more discussion? Roll call. Bell.
Aye.
Kaufman.
Aye.
Elleroff.
Aye.
Gal.
Aye.
And Deaver, aye.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cindy.
I'll approve those minutes on Thursday,
Okay.
and then I can get them to you.
You bet.
Adequate.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
You can do that for my property too.
Are you commercial or industrial, young man?
I'll make it commercial.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Morning, Warren. Good.
Hey Warren, been hearing the hubbub out there in the state about jail audits. Have you heard much about those? Costing up to $50,000 and there's gonna
Oh,
be a.
yeah, for the PREA? Yeah, it's gonna be in a little over 10 probably.
Why are some talking about 50? Are they just so far behind in where they need to be with their jail, or what's the issue there?
Could be, I suppose, if you have a jail like Cook County, Illinois, Chicago, I imagine it's gonna cost more. It's the Federal Prison Rape Elimination Act, PREA. We are probably as close to being compliant as anybody in the state, but there's a lot of stuff people don't really understand how it's gonna work. At jail school, they talked about a little bit, we'll be able to pick our inspector, and it's gonna be around $10,000 to have it done. I have no idea actually when they're gonna start doing it. I'm not too concerned about it because, like I said, we're as close to being compliant as anybody is.
My assumption you'll have that in your budget next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's we already have a non-biased state inspector come through. We're qualified to house federal inmates. It's just more
Unfunded mandate.
Yeah. And truthfully, if they would have gotten what they wanted in that, I wouldn't been able to walk down the female side of the jail. The north side of the jail is female general, the south side is male. For me to go to the control room, I would have had to go, not that it's a big deal, but how extreme it is, I would have to go to the other end of the jail to go up to the control room. Female jailers wouldn't have been able to go down the male side of the jail.
Well, I'd heard quite a bit about it, and I just wanted to make sure that we were on.
Yeah, I'd heard that
The
$50,000 number too, but that's certainly not going to apply to us. And I'm sure you probably have picked this up about me already. I'm the kind of person that asks why. They talked about if the jail inspector, the state jail inspector, if he can say your jail is in perfect compliance with everything, which most of the time, all we ever get is showers being bad, which that's everywhere. It's just impossible to keep up with showers. But they said that the PREA inspector could say you'd have to move a camera. And my question was, what if I don't? Our state inspector approved it. Why would I have to move it because he said so, or they said so? Well, you won't be in compliance. Okay, what's the penalty section for not being in compliance? Really, nothing. So you're telling me it's going to cost me $10,000 to have this person come in here and look for something to complain about, but then there's no penalty section if I don't listen to them. What is the purpose in this?
Somebody's after your money.
It's feel-good legislation.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that eliminating prison rape is a bad thing. It's a good thing, but it's just another deal where people that don't know anything about the business are creating problems for the rest of us to pay for. But on a good note, had the gentleman from Eagle Point, he came out and talked with me about solar for the office out there. Said it's very doable. It would be a lot easier if we owned a couple acres of the ground to the south, but in the process, I found out that custom builders are doing the same thing. They're doing installs through Iowa Power and Solar, Tim Dwight and Randy Schumacher's putting them in. So.
Thank you, Warren.
Yep.
Okay, on the evaluation process, when Jeannie came in here last time, she asked for a closed session. It was brought up that she could not, or could she or not. So I talked to Jeff, he talked to Keith Luchtel out there at Des Moines, and they said that as long as it's a good evaluation, as long as you do something good, you can have an open session, but if there's something negative, you want to go into a closed session. But Keith recommended that, and Jeff also said this, that if we'd have two people do the evaluation, two of the supervisors, that then it would be, it would be in any session. And then you put their evaluation in their personnel file, and its file is sealed up. Jeff recommended that we do this. I know Clinton County does one person, because they got a 3-member board of supervisors out there. If they'd have 2, it'd be a quorum out there. So they just have one person do the evaluation. There's only 3 people we do the evaluation for. So I guess I asked the board, what's your wish? Julie does not want to go into an open session with her evaluation, and Rob does not either.
So there'd be like 2 members that are like a personnel committee or whatever you want to call them.
We could set up a committee just like we do our other committees. Each year have 2 people.
Those 2 would be responsible for doing it.
Mm-hmm. And if you had any concern, when they're going to do the evaluation, that if you have any concerns, you can talk to them 2 people. It's just like if you have a concern with the insurance, you can talk to me and I'll take it off the insurance board.
Right. So if this committee is doing the evaluation but something develops, then at that point, I suppose, something that would be negative or of concern, then at that point you'd get on the board's agenda and come before the board and do a closed session.
But they would also need to communicate how that process went with the other supervisors. Because by code, you're supposed to share the information that is
when you're on a committee?
Well, yes.
Yeah, but if there's anything negative against it, then you got to go into a closed session.
Can supervisors look at the personnel files?
No. But that was a recommendation of Jeff, and Keith Luchtel also recommended that, we just appoint 2 people from 2 of the board members, and they do the evaluation.
So in terms of reporting, it'd be as simple as
Nothing negative, or
and
it's all good, you know.
favorable.
As far as reporting it would need to be done on an individual basis.
What do you mean on an individual basis?
Well, if you're gonna keep it, where it's not public information in a meeting, those two supervisors that are on that personnel committee have the responsibility to share that same information with the other supervisors on a one-on-one basis.
But I don't think that's right either. I mean,
I think it needs to be shared, otherwise you're not complying with the law either.
I think that's worse than if you just went into closed session with the entire group.
yeah, I don't think you can do a one-on-one. That's like skirting.
Mm-hmm.
That's like you're in purposefully, I
But
guess.
what I'm
either way.
saying is,
Yeah.
the law requires you as a supervisor to share any information pertaining to your job with other supervisors.
But can't you simply say, we conducted a performance evaluation for so-and-so, it was a favorable, and that's your report and that's it? I think that would be sufficient. And if it's anything other than that, then that's when it would need to be on the agenda. The person would come in, you would be able to have a closed session at that point because there's things that were not favorable that came out or concerned.
Because then you're talking about the reputation.
That would make it allowable to go into closed session. Am I getting that right?
Yep.
I don't know. So that's what Jeff Renander and Keith recommended.
Both recommended, yep.
When you're only doing 3 people.
That's all we do. That's all the board does.
I understand.
Yeah.
And those-
Now, the
those
department heads are
because-
department heads do their own, they're supposed to do their own evaluation of their employees.
Okay. Let me say something. Why are you doing evaluations on these 3 and not doing contracts with these 3? Project contracts. Here's what I plan on doing throughout the whole year. And then at the end of the year, this is what I got done, this is what I would carry over to next year.
Basically, that's what is in an evaluation.
No, that's contract, that's not an evaluation, it's 2 different things.
They used to do contracts for those employees years ago, and that was highly discouraged
Yes.
and major changes from.
I'm not talking about with the employees.
Legal
I'm talking about
standpoint.
your 3 key.
That's what I'm talking about, those 3
We
employees.
had contracts with those.
We did.
At least 2 of them before. And
Yeah.
And I'm sure those are
We
highly
got
paid
'em.
positions because of their skills and ability and their education.
There were
Most businesses do not do evaluations on key
legal reasons that
VPs.
those were done away
They
with.
do contracts. This is what we need you to do in the next year. This is what do you see that your department needs to do? And what did you get done the prior year? Because that would show key indicators if there was issues.
I guess that wasn't brought up, but, you know, Jeff and Keith didn't say anything about that, I guess.
And I think department managers should do evaluations on their people.
Yeah, department heads do it, yeah.
I don't think it should be annually, I think it should be quarterly, but, and then the annual would lead up with the quarterly say, but I think you hire your key people with the ability to run a department, and they have expectations through a contract.
Jeff, you have anything to add?
John, processing all this. I think if Keith Luchtel's employee doesn't want a open session, and Keith Luchtel says this is a legal way of doing that, water's under the bridge for doing something different in terms of the business contracts and such. So for this year, it sounds to me like that's the most viable option. I mean, that's my gut reaction. I never really thought of it this way.
Brad?
Well, I think that's probably the way to do it. That's what he said.
Betty?
Oh, I think that could work.
Okay. John?
Like I said, the only reserve that I have is communication.
Can we ask him, I mean, as we proceed forward, can we check in with Keith Lucko
Go into the
about?
contract and that.
Well, or what, about disseminating the information in the, from the committee to the board of the whole? How you do that is doing one-on-one, too much like a, what do they call it, a traveling quorum or whatever.
Yeah.
We do that with confidential information. Or if we have something going on, that human resource doesn't want to, go into, or can't go into closed session, we do that. So I don't know as though it's a skirting any more than that is.
Well, we can check with him.
Yes, check with him.
That's,
But if the board wants to proceed with putting 2 people on this committee, Jeff recommended that we do have a motion and a second and take a vote on it, put it in the minutes, and then how you want to appoint the 2 people, or whether 2 people want to volunteer for it.
So Julie's the only one we have right now. When are the other 2 due, Bev?
Phil and
Phil and Robert.
Rob are in March.
March. So it's just Julie right now, so.
Well, I would make a motion that we appoint a performance review committee
Okay, up to.
of 2 members.
Okay, the motion's been made by Allerhoff. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, second by Gal. Any more discussion? Who do you want to appoint? Do you want to look for volunteers, or?
I think, yes.
Okay.
I would if I was going to be on the board, but I'm not, so.
Okay. Any more discussion?
I think we should wait till, I don't have any problem in doing, I guess, the committee as long as the communication factor, and then I think we probably should wait until first of the year. Julie's that close now, and wait till the first of the year till Dawn's on the board, especially if Betty's going off.
And wait till Julie
Do we make those appointments and just include it in our appointments to boards and committees?
and then have Julie's evaluation after the first of the year?
I don't think that's an issue.
I guess unless Julie feels the need, but other than that, yeah, we're a month away, so I would agree.
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor, so if you want to vote it down, you can. Any more discussion? Roll call. Elleroff.
Aye.
Aye.
Brad. John.
Aye.
Jeff.
Aye.
And Wayne, aye. So that's what we'll do then after the first year, have a committee and tell Julie that we'll set an evaluation up for them.
can we check with Keith about communication from the committee back to the board?
I'll have Jeff check with him.
Want to give those, Jeff, hand those to Bev, we don't need those.
Yeah, we
Better
can.
keep those.
Save these or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, save them.
Yeah.
I can go check.
We'll check, see if there's any mail.
Who's your provider?
This? That's not even,
Took you that long to think of it?
yeah, I don't pay these bills or anything. I just had somebody show me how to do it, and I do it. I know, my eyes, I need
What size is that?
something bigger.
This is an LG.
US Cellular. That's a penny.
That's a what?
A penny.
Penny.
You're a US Cellular customer.
Is it still cost you like $30 a month for the? all
Yeah, it
that?
cost me 10.
Why is that?
That's all it cost me. $10 a month.
Really?
And I run it on Wi-Fi, so I don't need a big data plan.
Do you have any limits on minutes?
No. As long as I stay under my data, I'm fine. If
That's
you run Wi-Fi,
I had,
I run the internet, I take pictures, I can run apps.
the month of September, I had 6,000 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's phone. This is not a phone. This is a tablet.
Oh, now you're really confusing me.
This doesn't, I can't talk on it, but I can do everything else on it.
It's a tablet, like mine is a tablet, like his is not.
Now, my ballistic cover cost me $50. But I throw it in my briefcase and I don't want it to break.
Got tuning on my 60th birthday, I might be ready.
I won't be around. But I like it because not only this, see how well I drop them real quick? If I do this I have problems with. Then I can work with it.
But it's a penny?
I bought 2 of them for my office.
So you get on the internet on that?
Yeah.
Are you getting onto your phone? Pretty good. That's a smartphone,
The
right?
internet, well, my fingers are too big.
Hey, is this how your phone works? It's just like your phone, except it's not a phone. There's Google.
You can't say hello.
I can text you.
Okay.
Well, you can text with that.
Well, the email's a text. You can do anything. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but when that person receives it, does he receive it on his phone or is it like email?
Whatever he wants.
You can text.
I get my text or emails on this.
Yeah, but
Pretty soon people won't need the hello at all.
if you text on that though, Tim, does it come over his text or does it come over his email?
Probably his email. Unless he sets it up like mine. But mine's set up a little different.
I think I'll just stay with my dumb phone.
Well, see, I like to text mine because I can also say, how far is it to the sun? And it talks back to me.
Yeah, I don't want Siri.
I'm sorry.
That does not confuse me.
It did though. There's the answer.
What did it
What did it say?
The boys and their toys.
Oh, yes.
We'll work on it.
Oh, yeah, that's all right.
But this
And I
is,
can read
the
it.
reason Brad needs it is he goes, how do you spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious? Right there it is. How do you spell it?
No kidding. First of all, it has to determine your voice.
Oh,
Guys gotta get into these toys now.
is that in Webster's dictionary?
It's got the
I
whole
don't think
dictionary
Mary
in here.
Poppins- Yeah, but is Mary Poppins words in the dictionary?
It's got everything in it.
Okay, we got a lesson in phones. Okay, Larry wants some discussion on the Stanwood Drainage District, so I did entertain a motion to adjourn to the Stanwood Drainage
So
District.
moved.
Okay, the motion been made by Gall, is there a second motion?
Second.
Second by Kaufman. Roll call. Gall.
Aye.
Hello.
Aye.
Kaufman.
Aye.
Bell.
Aye.
David, aye. Okay, the Stanwood Drainage District.
Okay, what brought this about was the recent discussion on different ways of financing the Stanwood Drainage District improvements. And there's been a lot of talk here about bonds and loans. And originally, when you first started out, it was going to be strictly warrants, was what I understood was the original proposal. And now it's starting to look a little more, not that you've made a decision, I know you're going to be investigating it real thoroughly before you do. But I'm just kind of concerned that we make sure we protect the county's interest in this, that the county doesn't start to develop some sort of risk involved in any improvements that are made in this drainage district, and or incur additional cost, which should be charged to the Stanwood Drainage District. So that was my main concern. A couple of questions about that. Originally, there was a petition by a part of the landowners in the Stanwood Drainage District. And how does the law work then? Are those people automatically obligated for any cost incurred if you go ahead with this? Is that it? So every one of those people, even if they didn't sign the petition, are not in favor of that? are they still liable for any improvements?
Yes.
And how are they protected then from a minority requesting those
Were
improvements?
you at the meeting in the basement down there when we took a vote on all the percentages? You had to have a certain percentage of them that were not in favor of it before we would not proceed with it.
Okay.
And the percentages were not there. So
Okay.
that's the reason we proceeded with it.
And so that vote obligated every one of them
Yes,
to
it
paying
did.
back the
Yes.
cost of that improvement.
Yes.
Okay. And
That's per code, there's.
that's the code is protected.
Yeah, there's code language that dictates
Okay.
how you can fight it and,
Okay.
what the numbers are that.
Okay. Now, and I don't know, you probably haven't gone very far yet on considering other options other than warrants at this point. I know it's been a lot of requests made to do something different. And so mainly, I guess my concern is that as you go forward with looking at those different options, bonds or whatever else you consider, that you make sure that the liability and the risk and the responsibility stays with the Stanwood Drainage District rather than the county having to assume any responsibility for that. So that was my.
The district incurs all the debt on behalf of those landowners. The collateral for the debt is actually the value of the land.
Okay.
And so it stays completely autonomous from the county on that. So there's no, the only tie to the county is that we as supervisors are the trustees of the district. That's the only tie to the county. There's no bonding. I mean, I imagine the district could ask for the bonding ability of the county to help them in the bonding of it, but that's not necessary because the law allows for the whatever you do to go back to the tax and the value of the land of those landowners. So there's no tie. I mean, we're not tying up taxpayers in any way. I don't think we legally can.
No.
Okay. So if they were to use the county's bonding authority, that would not incur any cost for the county?
There wouldn't be any cost to the county. Basically, they would ask, just like a city, let's say Durant would run out of bonding capacity, they could come to the county and ask for, us to be that bonding capacity. It would use up our, number of what we have for capacity, but there's the debt, or, any cost associated, whether it be an opinion or anything, goes back to the district. And I don't think that's gonna happen if that's the case anyway.
I don't think if they'd come back and ask us for bonding capacity, then we'd be obligated.
More than you need.
Okay.
But I don't
Thanks,
think,
Beth.
they can't ask for
Trying to
bonding
apply
capacity.
for it.
They don't need to
Okay.
anyway, because they have, that land is the collateral, the taxing authority.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure that I expressed my concern about that possibility and make sure that we do, that you do consider that carefully, that the county does not become responsible for any additional cost or the responsibility for the debts incurred.
So we wouldn't have proceeded if there was ever a chance for that.
Right. And that, well, and actually, you probably haven't made that final decision yet. It sounds like you're still entertaining
The financing part.
the financing part, and that's where I wanted to speak to you before you did make that final decision, let you know there was my concern anyway.
Betty, you had a question back there?
Yeah, that collateral, is that on the whole farm or just the property that the district goes across? Like for the landowner?
It'd be the affected acres, I believe.
Just the affected.
Or what's in the district. It would be what's in the district, and what's affected on that farm is what's in the district. So.
Mary, you had something?
Yes. This is how it appears to me, and I may be wrong, and I think this is a very hard question that needs to be answered by Attorney Hudson, and I don't think it's ever been asked of him. You talked about it with Don Etler. Don Etler is not an attorney. He is not a drainage attorney. He's an engineer, and he should not be giving attorneys' opinions. I think the reason these projects are always financed with warrants is because possibly under drainage district law, that is the only means by which the responsibility is solely with the occupants of that drainage district. I'm betting if you go with bonds or loans, I'm gonna bet you that the entire county is responsible at that point. And I think that's a very hard question that we need a definitive answer to. I think you need to have Hudson on the phone again, or else get him down here.
Well, if they're coming next Tuesday, we're gonna have a meeting with, in the next Tuesday?
On Tuesday, they're having a conference call with the board.
And the bankers.
And the bankers.
Yeah, I don't think that's accurate, Mary,
No.
but, yeah, from what I recall, and I'm pretty sure.
Okay, but I think we need a definitive yes or no.
It is its own legal entity, it is not.
Isn't that why we call Dennis's office for an opinion?
Yeah.
Isn't that
Right.
where you're getting that opinion from?
Mm-hmm.
Whose office?
Wasn't it John Dennis's, or who?
Bob
Johnston's
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
Dorsey
And
Whitney.
Dorsey Whitney.
Yeah.
And they're gonna get a legal opinion. I'm guessing that's what you asked for, because we were sending the information to them.
Because Hudson was gonna contact.
Right, the two were going to work
Yep.
together. And Bob Johnston is one of the lead attorneys for the state that most bonding capacities use.
And they were gonna pull auditing information specific to Stanwood Drainage District.
To make sure that they had
Yeah.
your own board
Their
meetings,
own,
your own.
yes, everything.
That's what separates it.
Don't you find it odd that these other projects are always financed with warrants? There has to be a reason for that. I sat and listened to the bankers poo-poo this. That doesn't mean a lot to me. There's something more here behind this that hasn't come to light.
Well, we can certainly talk about it when he's here again.
I guess one of my concerns with the whole warrant thing, and I grew up in north central Iowa, where my parents have land that's in 3 different drainage districts. And they were wondering why it was such a big deal down here, because they do it all the time out there. And when I talked to my father about it, he said that when I explained the warrant situation to him, he said, so why is one outfit pushing the warrants, and why will they buy the warrants? He said, if they're telling you that there's a certain couple of banks that are willing to buy those warrants, what's the catch? He said, it doesn't make any difference rather, he said, where they're at. He, sometimes on his tax assessment, will get, depending on what work they've done to the different drainage districts, he could have 2 different notations on his tax thing because it's coming from 2 different drainage districts. So he gets billed by that. Yes, it's funneled through the county, but all those funds are tied into his land. So if he defaults and he doesn't make the payments on it, or he owes back stuff on it, they will put a lien on the property. They're going to get their money one way or another.
Right,
but it's not based over the whole county. It's just their particular drainage.
But are they using warrants?
They've used warrants. They've used bonds before. They've actually had bonding for their particular drainage district. And that's not overseen by the, I mean, they actually up there, their supervisors don't necessarily do it. They actually have trustees that sit on, that are elected to do it. So that's why it's important when they go into your special sessions or whatever. This is, we're working in the capacity of the Standard Drainage District Board of Directors and not the Board of Supervisors. It's kind of like switching hands.
What I understand from Hudson was that this is the simplest way, you know, but it's going to cost more money.
Well, it is simpler in the fact that there's less paperwork to do the warrants. You're basically just trading out bills for warrants.
But right now we can get a better interest rate on a loan or a bond than you can on the warrants.
But I'm a little, I think part of the problem is right now we're at kind of where they're worried about inflation and everything kicking in, and the interest rate could all of a sudden spike. So the banks are looking at, we don't wanna hold this on 20 years if we can't get our money till the end because it's simple interest. If they were paying interest along the way, then it would seem more of a good deal for them, I'm guessing.
But a lot of it boils down to is we as a board, what I've sensed would highly recommend and do desire to have the money from the cost of it remain in this county, so the interest and so forth remain in this county. And warrants, even though we were led to believe a little bit differently, look like they're gonna head out of the county pretty quick.
We don't have any control over the warrants, who buys them or anything. Well, originally, we thought we had some control that we could say, okay, you gotta turn them into somebody in the county.
Well, and if we had enough interest in the county, it's likely that that would happen, but when you have no interest, basically, so what are their options? But to go out.
The 468 goes into all the detail of everything, and it tells you, you know, how they can appeal and the whole process. So if you ever, our board, look at 468.
Okay.
I'm sure there's something in here. I haven't found anything specific to the financing.
But since you are the trustees, would bonding require additional work on the part of the county? Additional time and effort rather than just using warrants, which appear to be the simplest thing to do for the county? I mean, how much more time is going to be involved on your part, on the auditor's part, and who knows who else has to get involved in that bonding?
Probably not going to be any more time on our part. It's going to be, you're going to have a bonding attorney. Or the way I understand the loan, you still have to have a loaning attorney, but you still pay off the bonds the same way you would pay off the warrants.
And that's a decision you guys will make rather than the drainage district itself. In other words, they're going to pay for that bonding attorney, I assume. They would have to pay for it. So that's a decision you guys will make on their behalf, is how to best finance it.
Because bond, cost of premium and bond, this is just the cost of the bond itself. Shall be paid for out of the general funds of the drainage or levy district. And there's no, I mean, we cannot, it looks like we can't charge them for anything other than, say, like Carrie's work for the clerk or whatever. That can be charged back to the district.
So what I hear you saying is that it would be better for you to do it through a bond at a lower interest rate. It would be to their advantage for you to do it that way because of the lower interest rate. In other words, instead of them paying 5%, they might be paying 2 or 1 or whatever.
But this isn't going to be our proposal is not a bond, it's just a loan.
Oh, okay, so there was discussion of bonding.
Well, we have to go to a bonding attorney to find out whether or not they have the ability to not pay taxes from the federal standpoint. But you have to go to a bonding attorney to get that opinion.
Okay, but if it's a loan, who's loaning them the money? The banks, through the banks?
Right.
And so
loans the district the money.
Okay, and the lien on that would so a bank loans money, they usually have a lien.
Would be against the
parcels within the
parcels
district.
of land in the tax, and if they belly up on it, it goes to tax sale, and that's how they get their money.
Okay. So basically, you're just allowing that to happen. You're not in the middle of that. Banks would deal directly with the property owners in the standard drainage district.
No, they would be dealing with the district, and
so they'd have to deal through you anyway.
Right.
Because we collect the taxes. We collect the assessments.
Okay, all right. So you'd be paying back the loan from the bank. So in effect, you'd be borrowing the money from the bank, paying off the bills, and then the property would be the security that the county has. I'm getting that paid back. Okay.
Security the bank has, not the county.
The district.
The district has.
The district, yeah.
And and in here, and I know I've read it before, it's basically I know you use the treasurer and you use the auditor in the capacity of levies and so forth, and they cannot charge for that. But the clerking and the stuff specific to the district can be charged to the district, because that's part of their responsibility as treasurer and so forth, is to do that.
It was just like we were using the assistant county attorney, which didn't cost them anything.
There's
but
nothing in
they
it for
wanted
the
to go with
county.
Hudson.
There's nothing in it for the
They're
county,
paid
and
for
that's why we've offered for them to take it back over again, but they don't want to.
But Larry, you're not talking to the board of supervisors right now. Right now, you're talking to the trustees.
I know.
It could be a total separate group. The trustees, the board of supervisors have left the room. You're now talking to the trustees, and
I
that's
know.
what you gotta think about it.
I know, and
So you're not talking to the county at all.
I know, and I've been referring to them as trustees.
Okay.
Now, if they did have a county board, or if they had a drainage board of administrators, they actually can be paid, but that's determined by county board of supervisors. The hourly rate for that is what I understand, but that, of course, that's never been the case in our county.
Okay.
Yes, Mary.
It's my understanding, and you can tell me if I'm right or not, that Hertz Farm Management is behind this. I did not know this until just recently. I thought that fellow that's spearheading it was just a farmer up there, and I guess that's not correct. And I was told that they stand to make $60,000 plus on this deal. And I'm wondering, do the people in that district know this? Or is it just a few select people that know it?
Know what?
That Hertz Farm Management is the one that's behind this.
Well, they've contacted, Kirk, on behalf of the landowners that he represents, and he made it well known up front that he's with Hertz. Basically, that was known, he made that known up front. Whether they know what he will make off of it, basically I understand it's a percentage of the improvements, and that's based on whatever the amount comes out to and so forth, but that really has nothing to do with it as far as, that's just the way that Hertz Farm Management operates. It's not, and we're to the point now where, we went through the percentage factor and so forth, and, there wasn't enough abstaining from those numbers that were against it, that, we can't do anything about it. So it's a done deal. And I don't know, I know even when he came in with the petition and mentioned that those folks would pay, and we still haven't researched that fully, have we? But, and I don't even know whether we had the legal authority, if someone says that, to whether there's a legal binding agreement or not. But, those folks, unfortunately, I think there's more ties to Hertz Farm Management in this than just Mr. Y. And there's some influences that probably have influenced this whole project from Hertz Farm Management, whether it be somebody that's actually doing the management or somebody that's doing work for Hertz Farm Management. There's a lot of custom work done up in that area that affects the landowners and so forth. So, it's just that's just the way it is.
But we follow the code and the steps we've taken along the way, so.
We can't do anything about
Well, I think
who's in it and who's not.
In defense of Kirk, I think every public meeting we've had, he's always said that he's representing Oldor Farms and Hertz Management. And K Farms is also another big owner up there, and Robert John Dirks has been representing them. So that's who we've been listening to, is the people that are representing them.
John, you've been on the board a long time, what, 18 years? Has any independent farmers in that district ever come to the board and asked to have improvements done up until this time?
Actually, we had meetings in Stanwood years ago, and that's how the other study started, is they wanted improvements done. And Hertz wasn't a part of it at that point.
right.
And we went ahead with the study, and because you're required, once you've been petitioned to do so, you're required to do it by law. So yes, there have been other ones, and I think just the fact that we didn't do anything because the folks that were there did not want to go ahead with that project that was proposed before. I think Hertz probably got involved because they wanted something to, progress and something to be done. So that's how they got involved. And of course, once those folks petition us, then we're bound to proceed.
And I think Denny Coppice was the one that started this, was because the west side of Highway 38 up there is where we first started talking about this, having an open ditch. So it wasn't even considered up to the northeast part at that time. It was more or less talking about the ditch that Denny Coppice has got. Okay, is there anything else before the Stanwood Drainage District?
Any minutes or anything?
No, I haven't had a chance to do those yet. I've been gone a couple days.
Okay, the motion's been made by Kaufman. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Gall. Roll call. Kaufman.
Aye.
Bell.
Aye.
Gall.
Aye.
Ellerhoff.
Aye.
Dearborn Guy. We're adjourned from Stanwood Drainage District.
468 is quite lengthy.
Yeah, thanks for entertaining my question.
Sure.
Done. She says she's done for the day. I'm gonna go right to home. Smart lady. Which one you want?
I figure they'll surprise us.
Okay.
By the weekend, there'll be a heat wave in the
Well.
That was for you. That's the only mail there is.
What do we got?
And there was an email. There was a open coffee at the Spear House Bed and Breakfast on December 4th. That came from Abby Kidling, Tipton.
Same day as our board meeting.
That's
What
the
time's
only-
that start?
8 to 9 a.m. on December 4th.
That's our new form agenda.
Wrong. What do we got on the agenda for Thursday, then, the 4th?
I bet you have.
And there's a cycle meeting December 9th at 5:30, it says here. On the 4th, you have adoption of ordinance 56, the local option sales and services tax for West Branch. Department heads meeting at 9, claims to approve, and after the department head meeting, everyone will be meeting with Tim on the hazard mitigation planning for the county.
That's it, huh?
That's scheduled for a couple hours, I had a couple of department heads say they.
2 hours be enough?
I don't know. Hopefully.
A couple said they wouldn't be able to stay that long, they sent back.
Okay, is there anything else coming before the meeting? Now, to entertain a motion to adjourn?
I moved.
Moved by Ellenhoff. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Kaufman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. We got to talk about that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna finish the plan that day. You're gonna submit your plan that day.
I'll give you 15 minutes.
Then you will not have a plan.
All right, 20.
Okay.
You know,
Honestly,
I still never got.
if you do it right, I think you do about 6 hours.
Never said it was something.
I don't doubt that.
Because
Okay.
we're gonna have her type up everything you say, and you're just gonna mail it off right there on the spot. You're already done.
I don't doubt that.
I